Good afternoon. Welcome back to the channel. This video is not financial advice, not financial advisor. Do your own research, make your own decisions. Okay, guys, welcome back. So this is going to be the end of the world as we know it. And I've done several videos about this general topic over the last few years. But given everything that's happening in the public domain right now, it felt like a good time to revisit this conversation. And it ties into my recent video about the Skynet scenario, where in the future, governments will be run by robots, machines, AI, autonomous software systems that don't need human intervention. But right now, human beings, old processes, and institutions have to manage a lot of those responsibilities. But if you're looking at how they're currently doing, managing all the old institutions, it's not working out very well, right? And if you think about back to earlier conversations we were having about the web being the medium that the entire world uses to interact with each other, and think about how most people get their information today on their phone, on the internet, on social media, so on and so forth, right? And so the web itself is shaping a lot of people's reality. And the problem with that is that let's just ask some general questions. Why is society becoming so unstable? Why does nobody know there's a new web on the horizon? That's a really good question. There's so much exposure happening. There's so many truth movements popping up all over the world. I've never seen more people on the internet, and their reason for being on the internet is to expose the truth, but nobody knows there's a new web that's being implemented all over the world. Why do trending stories feel like this endless drama that never resolves? And why do people in crypto not understand ICP? Why is the conversation still stuck in 2017? Why is the conversation in crypto so diluted? How did this become the norm? And if you think about it, everything on Web 2 can be manipulated. Everything. And all of the largest accounts in this industry could have bought their following for all that we know. Some of these people might not even be real people. A lot of them are just behind anonymous accounts. And you can create endless fake accounts, have fake engagement, have fake trending stories. All of this can be gamed through algorithms, through artificial intelligence. And really, if you have the money and the resources, you can fabricate or simulate your own reality and paint that picture to people as this is just the reality. It's happened already in the crypto space. Most people in the crypto space, regardless of whether or not it's true, they have been convinced of certain things. Dominic talked about this in that interview that he did with Real Vision and just talked about how market caps were being elevated and how the crypto media was kind of playing along, and that was serving as the social proof for people. And once they saw that, that just became, they were just certain that this XYZ layer one network was the big thing in the space because of those social proofs, right? But all of that could be very easily manipulated in this environment. And on top of almost everything else, people on podcasts have been talking about the whole political scene. This is going to turn into an unhinged rant, so I apologize, but just letting you know that's probably where this is going. I can feel it coming on. But if you think about the last however many years, all these political podcasts, and make your own decisions on all of this, but I would highly recommend spending less time following anything ever relating to politics at this point in time. We're in the end game stages, and I think most everything, I'll put it this way, from my perspective, everything I've seen in the political world for the last however many years, almost the last decade plus, has been a psyop. I don't know one thing, I can't think of one major trending thing that didn't have some psyop element to it, especially with everything happening right now, right? And so we're at the end, is what I'm trying to say. And the reason why it looks like the US government, federal government, and governments elsewhere are as unstable as they've ever been, the reason why it looks like that, one, because that's how the image is being shaped to the public, but two, it's because we're at the end. They're going to be replaced. They're not going to be running the show in the future. Technology, artificial intelligence, robots, autonomous software, that's going to be powering the future. Human beings we've kind of reached the point where they've become so unreliable, especially, it's just the institutions themselves have become so unreliable and so outdated. That's really what it is. Technology has surpassed their general productivity and intelligence and efficiency, and now it's over, more or less. And we're just going to watch it unfold from here. But this was like over 3 years ago at this point. I would look at Elon as the indicator or the person to look for to gauge trends and where things are going and so on and so forth. Like when he turned on Trump, and I'm not going to make this a political video, just it's relevant to the conversation. But when he turned on Trump, I said, okay, yeah, that's it. Elon's for as far as I'm concerned, Elon's in charge. If you look at all the different companies and everything that he runs Neuralink, SpaceX, Twitter, Gronk, what else? I forgot Starlink, and there's probably a couple other things that he runs that it's somebody that has that much power and that runs companies. Tesla, for example, yeah. So it's people who, and he's one of the people that are creating the humanoid robots of the future. Which, in my personal opinion, most people that have the resources, this will kind of be like, in some ways, like a car for people. For people who can't afford humanoid robots, they're going to have humanoid robots. And I do think this will be worked out to where the AI that powers your humanoid robots over time will be an AI that's in a canister that you own and control, and you can train it yourself. Yeah. But I look at this as a broader delegitimization process that's been playing out over the last decade. And I look at this as like the end stages before we transition to tech, artificial intelligence running everything, not human beings. And there's just no way to verify anything. If you think about the stories that are happening right now, do the files exist? Are there more files? Is there a list? Is there not a list? There's no way of verifying anything. And regardless of what they say, there's no way of knowing whether or not that's true. And with whatever coverage that you're listening to, this is the problem that's on the web. This is why all these podcasts are going to fucking zero, is because they've done nothing but run their mouth, engagement farm, and really just try to generate hysteria over the last however many years in the political world. And now, hopefully, more and more people are starting to see, wait a second, these people are just political grifters. It's all smoke and mirrors. Think about how many people are covering politics and all this political crap on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. And there's no, it's all a lie. That's the story. It's all a lie on both sides, right? And so all of these political podcasts, all of these influencers, all of this shit's going to zero because it adds no value. Imagine watching one of these people for years, which I did used to a decade plus ago, follow this whole entire situation. But my investigation into the political world ultimately led me to everything with the tech. Yeah. So I can't say that it was a total waste of time because it was like kind of my gateway into figuring out the entire system is completely broken and it's no longer, it's not even sustainable. It's really a house of cards at this point. And so we're going to have to move to some type of new system. So I'm not going to say that it's 100% waste of time because it was my gateway personally to finding out the bigger picture with the tech and everything else. But the amount of people that, whether it's the mainstream media or whether it's content on social media, the amount of time people have lost just listening to people cover this entire shit show, it's just one big movie. They're almost turning it into a movie production where you have the media, the regular, mainstream media coverage. Then you have the coverage of on social media. Again, all this truth is being exposed, but nobody knows there's a new fucking internet being implemented, right? Everybody's going to act super surprised when they find this out over the next however many years. Whew. But yeah, everything on Web 2 can be simulated. Everything. And that's why, like, crypto Twitter is a joke. Twitter as a whole is a joke. It's just one big simulated brainwashing platform. But this is where the conversation is. And so you kind of have to be here, unless if you want to be a part of the conversation, you kind of have to get involved with the conversation. But you can't verify anything, man. All of these accounts could be bought, plants could have been, they had their entire follower count bought and paid for. The engagement metrics could be tons of bots. It's in this type of an environment, reality can be simulated and manipulated in so many different ways. But this is the big kicker. We're moving from this being the situation to where Web 2 is just shaping, the web is shaping people's reality. And it's causing a lot of instability with society and culture and everything. But we're going to move from this, where there's no ability to verify anything. And every single thing on Web 2 can be faked, can be gamed, can be manipulated, everything. We're moving from that to a web where nothing, everything is verifiable, and you can't game the system in any way, shape, form, fashion. And there's an underlying truth layer to everything. We live in a world based on nothing. It's almost all lies. You almost never hear raw, unfiltered truth. And even if you do hear it, it's hard, it's impossible to verify in this environment, right? But we're moving from this to where this is the medium we all use to communicate, access information, share information, everything. And so we're going to move to this to a 100% truth-based system. It's going to turn the world on its head. I can't overstate how big of an impact that alone is going to have. Yeah, it's going to transform the world in every imaginable way. But all instability in the old world, so all this stuff that's happening right now, it's all bullish for the new world of tech. Delegitimization with federal governments is very, very bullish for the new world of tech. Because if our forecast, or I'll just say my forecast, is in the future, smart cities, the smart web is going to power a lot of this, that robots, humanoid robots, and other types of robotics, artificial intelligence, and autonomous software, if that's my outlook for the next 10 to 15 years, that at some point in time, automation is just going to take over everything with government and with institutions, then the fact that I'm watching the current institutions and the current systems of government implode and just look like they're no longer, they don't work anymore, kind of similar to the web itself. That's all, in my opinion, very optimistic for the next part of this. We just have to get through kind of the collapsing of the old world and the transition to the new world. This is the biggest transitionary period ever in world history by a very, very wide margin. But yeah, notice what nobody's talking about. A new web. It seems relevant, right? All this exposure going on with, I get frustrated watching all these truth tellers, and sure, I'm sure some of them genuinely believe they're on the internet being a truth teller. They're just in the dark and have no idea that we're transitioning to that there's a lot better explanations about what are we being distracted from. Is this like, that's the crazy part about this. Whether it's pop culture, whether it's politics, whether it's tech, doesn't matter. Like, people always like present this like, are we being distracted from something else? Yes, everybody's being distracted. Yes. That's directly over the target, except everybody gets the whole thing wrong about what they're being distracted from, or they never ask any other questions. They just say, is this a distraction? Are we all being distracted right now? They never go any further. Yes, 100%. That was how I figured this whole entire thing out. There was too many crazy things happening in the world, and I said, something's got to be going on. There has to be some bigger thing here that everybody's being distracted from. And I didn't come to that conclusion and then stop looking for the thing everybody was being distracted from. I kept looking for it, and then all of a sudden it all made sense. If you generally assume, look at everything that's happening in the world, and if you generally assume that we're moving to a entirely new web, the entire world is moving to a new web-based model. And that's also going to tie into an entirely new financial system for the whole world. And we're all going to be on a shared network state globally. If you genuinely believe that's the next 10 to 15 years, then the insanity that you see on a regular basis should, to some degree, make sense. That degree of change is likely going to have a lot of ripple effects and a lot of disruption that it causes in the process. People are promoting problems and hysteria to the moon. That's all it is. It's great for engagement. It's great for drama. It's great for the clickbait bullshit that all these content creators do. They're promoting problems and hysteria nonstop, 24/7. But the good news is they're all going to be eaten by AI because they're not really sharing any worthwhile, actionable information. All the shit that they say on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis, they just waste people's time with more and more hysteria. There's no actionable items. The information, this is the best way to gauge quality of information. If the information you're getting gives you knowledge about something that you can act on to positively impact your life, it's quality information. If the information you're getting, there's no real actionable items that you can move, there's nothing that you can immediately start doing to improve the quality of your life, then it's just bullshit, which is 95+% of the content that you see. And for all we know, 90, 95 plus, this is the whole, gets into the dead internet theory. 90+% of the web could be simulated. It'd be very easy to do for people who have the resources, the infrastructure, the finances to simulate reality for tons and tons and tons and tons of people and convince them of a certain thing that may or may not have any basis in actual reality. Whew. Yeah, so many things being exposed, but nobody knows a new web is being implemented. And everybody's going to act surprised as shit when they find out over the next however many years. I'm sure some of them will be genuinely surprised, but I know that there's a lot of these mainstream public figures that have huge platforms that are very connected with almost everything, that they know what's going on with the future of all this tech. But the two most foundational, important systems, the web and the financial system, both of them are broken. And the reason why society and culture is starting to break down is because the medium that we all use to communicate is completely broken and can be very easily manipulated for the sole purpose of causing the breakdown of society and culture, which has already happened, past tense. But both of them, think about this. Both the web and the financial system were built on theft and exploitation. And look at what's happened. Look at what's happened to society, to culture, to everything. Because of the foundational systems that we use that are probably the two most important systems on earth, the financial system and the web. Changing from a web like Web 2, where there's no ability to verify anything and everything can be manipulated, to a truth-based system will transform society and the world. I know I said that earlier, but it's worth repeating. And we are fed an endless stream of lies and propaganda, whether it's with the mainstream media or whether it's once you get on the web, on social media, and you start consuming information. We are fed an endless stream of lies and propaganda, and there's no way to verify anything. And moving from this to a truth-based system, it's going to collapse all the old paradigms that so many people just like, that's the only people really start need to becoming more flexible with their outlook and their worldview and everything, because the world that the picture that we've been painted over the last 20 years is going to collapse over the next 10 years. All of it. It's going to go straight up in flames. Like the Thanos snap, it's just going to evaporate. That's how big the change is. That's why things look so crazy. That's why you should expect things to get more and more unstable. I wouldn't expect things to start to level out anytime soon. I would expect just the opposite. I think things are going to get more and more unstable and more crazy. I would expect anything. I've been saying this for a long time. I just don't go into this very often, right? But yeah, this is all a part of the overall conversation that we started 4 years ago at this point. I would just be strategically planning for the future. Consuming too much trash online is not a good thing. So I would just try to identify, because there's going to be tons of trash to consume online over the next however many years. There's every incentive in the world for every Joe Blow or Susie Q to get on their phone and scream, "Look at me, look at me, look at me," and try to create some hysteria around some new trending story. This is the griftiest environment in the history of the world. But all of these people who are running their mouth on the internet but have nothing of value to say, but are just writing the algorithm, they're all going to be eaten by AI. And I can't wait for it. I genuinely can't wait for it. The situation will get even more chaotic in the upcoming years. Just think about, like Dom sitting down with Kimball. And if you think about ICP fitting into perfectly to every single thing that Elon is doing, all of his different, I guess, the different sectors of all the businesses that he has, ICP and Utopia fits in perfectly. Dom's already sit down with Kimball. I've already laid out a scenario with Google where I think it makes a lot of sense for Google to use ICP. ICP's value proposition fits in perfectly with big tech, regardless of which big tech. It's just degrees of better fits. Across all of big tech, it makes all the sense in the world. And ICP's value proposition is perfect for big tech. It's a perfect unison over the next 5-10 years, even though I think we'll see developments much sooner than that. But ICP fitting along with the perfect value prop for big tech in general. And so if you just think about all these different questions, it's all because the medium is broken. The web does not work anymore. And it's only going to create more and more problems until we just incrementally transition over to a new web-based model. Guys, that's all I have for this video. This kind of unhinged rant that I went on, and I don't even know if I'm going to post this. I might have to watch this back before I do. But this was just in a general sense to highlight this was a continuation of the conversation we had been having about the end of the old world and the transition to the new world. But because I could also tie in some other general themes and concepts from prior videos, it just made sense to go ahead and do this video. But those are my thoughts on the state of everything happening right now. I wouldn't get too concerned or too caught up. If you're watching this video, that means you're actively looking at solutions and trying to position yourself for the future. You're not caught in the old world, not even understanding where all this is going. You're actively positioning for the future. So you're doing the things that you need to do to keep yourself on the right side of this entire transitionary process. And so I would just continue doing those things, because there's going to be a lot of people that become collateral damage to the changes that are coming, because these are the biggest changes in world history by a very, very wide margin. And we're kind of in the calm before the storm right now. That's all I have for this video. This was not financial advice. Do your own research. Take care. Have a good day. I'll see you in the next video.